welcome to another episode of InfoScope. I'm your host, Hannah Kim. We are back again with the latest from the IT and science world. Let's take a quick look at some of the upcoming stories. There was recently a competition featuring ideas that use science and technology to promote public peace. In particular, the competition looked for ways to reduce crimes and accidents using information technology or new devices. We'll find out who won this competition in just a moment. And in other news, the Cybathlon Championship for Athletes of Disabilities took place in Switzerland last year, and a Korean contestant won third place in the exoskeleton event. The contestant Kim Byung-wook had to use a wheelchair for the past 20 years after a car accident, but was able to stand up again with assistive technologies. We have more details on this next on InfoScope. Team Korea ranked third in the powered exoskeleton event in the Cybathlon Championship for Athletes with Disabilities. Paraplegic participants wearing exoskeletons navigated their way through an obstacle course. Korea's ranking testified to its current status in robotics development and the tenacity of Koreans. The app Podori Go won the second scientific-based public safety idea competition. The app is inspired by the smartphone game Pokemon Go, but instead of catching monsters, it takes pictures of vehicles. If the car looks like one that is involved in a criminal case, its location will be beamed to police. A total of 16 competitors, including Yoon Hyung-yeol, the mastermind behind Podori Go, were recognized by the Ministry of Science, ICT, and Future Planning and the Korea National Police Agency. The Creative Korea Expo 2016 took off in December of last year, featuring the latest in science and technology like augmented reality and autonomous vehicles and ingenious ideas from startups. Last year's Expo was the largest to date, bringing in 96,000 visitors, 1,700 organizations, and 718 startups. Well, we definitely started the show with a lot of good news. Congratulations to all those who are making a huge difference in our world. Now, besides the Expo, there was another chance for the public to see other future technologies in action. In fact, a robot and a drone took to the streets of Seoul, where the robot physically drove a car and the drone delivered packages. More on this in just a bit, but before this story, we're going to shift gear a little and talk about volcanoes. Baekdusan Mountain erupted around 1,000 years ago, and new research shows that its eruption may have been more violent than that of Mount Tambora in Indonesia in 1815. This also means that Baekdusan's eruption could have had a greater effect on the environment than we thought. Let's take a closer look at the effects of this volcano next on Industry Inside.
The eruption of Baekdusan Mountain in 946 during the Goryeo dynasty is known as one of the most violent volcanic eruptions in human history. However, despite the scale of the eruption, it has been thought that there were no effects on global weather patterns, as there was little sulfur emitted during the eruption. Now, new research may refute that theory. Researchers from the United Kingdom, the United States, and North Korea found that the amount of sulfur released during the eruption was 22 times more than initially thought. The researchers analyzed rocks that resulted from volcanic activity instead of extracting leftover volcanic gas locked in glaciers. Researchers estimate that about 45 megatons of sulfur was released into the atmosphere. This is greater than the 30 megatons released by the eruption of Mount Tambora in Indonesia in 1815. As Mount Tambora's eruption resulted in the cooling of global temperatures by about 1 degree for many years, Baekdusan's eruption is also likely to have had a far-reaching influence.
기존의 백두산 분출이 생각보다 많은 가스들이 분출을 했고 범지구적인 어떤 기후 변화에 영향을 줄 수 있었을 것이다. 이렇게 일단 예측을 할 수 있을 것 같고요.
The researchers plan to determine precisely how strong Baekdusan's eruption was by conducting further studies. Their research and the results were published in the global academic journal Science Advance. A drone carrying a package is making a landing. A person opens the package, takes out a smartwatch, and presses a button, which summons an electric car. The driver is not a person, but a robot. The robot driver smoothly changes lanes and stops at a predetermined location.
그 자동차 혹은 뭐 버스 이런 탱크 이런 것들을 로봇이 앉으면 바로 조종할 수 있는 그러한 범용 기술을 개발하는 게 목적입니다. 이런 것들은 사실 이미 영화에 많이 보이고 있는데요. 그런 기술을 저희가 실제로 보여주는 거에 의의가 있다고 하겠습니다.
There were also video games incorporating holograms and augmented reality, and media facades, which use building walls to present visual content. The structure for media facades is made with a very strong composite material, making it possible to create seemingly floating images.
2050년에 뭐 화성 탐사라든가 자율주행차라든가 로봇이 운전을 한다든가 뭐 드론이 로봇과 같이 협업을 한다든가 이러한 새로운 미래를 보여들면서 상상력을 키우고 우리가 어떤 꿈을 가질 수 있는가를 시민들에게 보여주고 함께 즐기는 그러한 자리였다고 보시면 됩니다.
The government will inspect regulations for future technologies like realistic content, robots with artificial intelligence, and smart cars, and make any necessary revisions. They take a nap with you, play with you. Dogs are man's best friend. So how did this special bond first appear? One prominent theory is that wolves that ate food waste made by primitive humans steadily became domesticated into the dogs we know today.
우리 인간이 살고 있는 곳에서는 이런 음식 쓰레기를 노리는 그러한 동물들이 이렇게 유인이 돼요. 아마 그런 동물 중에 하나가 개가 다시 말해서 개의 조상이었던 그런 일부 늑대 무리가 아니었을까 생각해요.
A new study is backing up that theory. A team of French researchers analyzed the DNA of a dog bone dated from some 7,000 years ago and discovered more than 8 genes for breaking down starch. In comparison, wolves only have 2 such genes. When agrarian societies began to emerge 10,000 years ago, staple food changed to rice or wheat, and dogs underwent genetic evolution in order to process extra starch.
한 만년 사이에 우리 인간 사이에 엄청난 그런 식단의 변화가 있었고 그다음에 개도 이유에 맞추어서 동시에 그런 식단을 메뉴로 받아들일 수 있었기 때문에 이 개가 그 우리 인류와 계속해서 이렇게 친하게 같이 옆에서 있을 수 있는 그런 원동력이 아니었을까 생각해요.
There's also the theory that humans used wolves for hunting, and some of those wolves evolved into dogs.
Moving on to the next segment, we're going to tell you about a new bioelectric tongue that can simultaneously register 2 different tastes at once. This model is 10,000 times more sensitive to sweetness than the human tongue, and it is expected to be a great help for creating processed foods. We'll tell you more about this shortly, but first, we have updates about why people are so sensitive to tickling. I am so ticklish that even the thought of being tickled makes me laugh. Are you sensitive to tickling? And why is it that we can't stop laughing when we are being tickled? While this behavior has been observed for 2,000 years, no one has been able to explain why. Well, now a group of researchers in Germany may have found the link. Take a look at this next video for more information. Here's Tech a Peek.
The boy bursts into laughter when he's being tickled. The armpits, belly, and the bottom of feet are particularly sensitive. Research on tickling has been taking place for the past 2 millennia, but there has been no answer as to why we laugh when tickled. Now, a team of German researchers has found the link between tickling and laughter. The researchers tickled rats on their stomachs and found that their chirps were in the range of around 50 kilohertz. Rats make the same sounds when they are communicating with one another or are eating. The researchers observed the rat's brain reaction and found that when they made a sound, the brain's somatosensory cortex became active. The somatosensory cortex receives signals from touch, temperature, and other stimulation. When it registers tickling, neurons become active, which leads to chirps in response. The researchers also found that using electric currents instead of tickling could also stimulate the somatosensory cortex and induce the rats to chirp.
that the data show us that the somatosensory cortex, a brain structure which we thought is purely tactile, does much more in that. In particular, it seems to be very closely involved in generating the laughter itself.
The researchers explain that tickling might have evolved to promote social bonding as the brain triggers a positive reaction like laughter. The research was published in the academic journal Science. This is an instant noodle research facility, and researchers are conducting tasting tests to come up with the ideal flavor. Before a new product is launched, researchers consume as much as 30 servings.
시식을 해보고 난 다음에 또 다른 이제 맛이 부족하다 싶으면은 그에 해당하는 원료들을 한번 직접적으로 그 원료 자체의 맛을 보고 새롭게 다시 배합을 해가지고 배합 실험을 해서 또 다시 한번 시식을 해보고.
Korean researchers have developed a bioelectric tongue that can be used in food production. It uses protein-based taste receptors in our tongue that register sweet and savory flavors. The researchers inserted the DNA of taste receptors into cells, and the cells were placed on graphene, which has greater electric conductivity than copper. When the receptors register a certain flavor, there's a subtle change in the electric current. Upon registering this change, the graphene sends an electric signal.
그래핀에는 전류가 흐르고 있는데 흐르는 전류의 변화를 측정함으로써 감칠맛도 느낄 수 있고 단맛도 느낄 수 있고.
This biotongue is significantly more sensitive to sweetness compared to previous models.
네, 우리가 한 1, 2년 전에 만들었을 땐 사람의 혀보다 한 100배 정도 더 민감했는데 이번에 만든 건 그것보다 더 100배 정도 더 진화를 해서 한 사람의 혀보다 10,000배 정도 더 민감하게.
The researchers believe that this new technology will be useful in the food industry, such as for developing new seasoning. This patient is at the hospital for cerebral infarction. Prior to her diagnosis, she has paid little attention to brain health, and despite hospital treatment, her prognosis does not look very good.
뇌경색이라는 것이 저한테 오리라는 거는 전혀 생각 못했는데 이렇게 오게 되니까 정말 힘들었고 당황했어요.
Strokes are the third most common cause of death in Korea and rank at the top in terms of single diseases as causes for death. As strokes are likely to lead to death or long-term disability, prevention and treatment are both important. Korean researchers have succeeded in predicting the severity of a stroke and the degree of recovery, taking one step closer to customized stroke treatments. Based on the standard brain map for Koreans, the researchers analyzed the MRI scans of some 5,000 patients of acute strokes in 11 hospitals in Korea. They found that even if the volume of the affected area was the same, the bottom 20 patients in the Brain Health Index had a 50% more chance of symptoms becoming worse compared to the top 20 patients. Furthermore, they faced twice the risk of being unable to walk or having to leave their jobs 3 months after having a stroke.
이제 하위 20%에 해당하면 상위 20%에 해당하는 환자에 비해서 이제 병원에 온 다음에 뇌졸중이 악화될 가능성이 높다는 거죠. 그렇기 때문에 그런 환자들은 좀 더 주의 깊게 봐야 되고 약물 치료를 좀 더 적극적으로 해야 될 가능성이 있죠.
The researchers are currently using this standardized brain map, and they plan on implementing their research to predict brain disorders and treatment. The research and results were published in the journal Brain.
Again, strokes are the third most common cause of death here in Korea, and it's often known as the silent killer because it threatens the patients without any symptoms. So even though there are helpful technologies like the brain map, it's important that we take care of our health, concentrating on our blood pressures and our cholesterols. And if you are a smoker, you may want to quit because you are at a higher risk of a stroke. But it's already time for me to wrap up today's edition of InfoScope. We will be back again next time with more news from the IT and science world. Thank you for joining me today and have a wonderful week.